Hello everyone, my name is Harvey Ishe Opelarka, and in this video, I'll demonstrate how model binding works in ASP.NET Core MVC using a simple login page I built. So the app lets a user enter a username and password. So I'll walk through how ASP.NET Core automatically maps that submitted form data into a C# model. So how data annotation validation works, how model state is valid is checked, how a login attempt is verified, and how the app redirects to a welcome page on success. So this doesn't use a database. The credentials are hard-coded, so we can focus purely on model binding and validation. So on the sides, we can see here my project structure. So I added an account controller, a login view models, and two views under views. So it's account. So it's login and welcome to HTML. So the login page is where the user submits their credentials, and the welcome page is shown after a successful login. Let's proceed to my login view model. So it has two priorities, so the username and the password. So I use data annotation attributes to define validation rules directly on the model. So it means the field can't be left empty. So the required means, yeah, the field can be left empty. And I gave it a custom error message, which is the username must be 3 to 50 characters long. So it uses string length. So require 3 and 50 characters. And on password, I used minimum length to require at least 6 characters plus data type data type the password. So it's treated as a password field. So these rules are what ASP.NET Core checks automatically when the form is submitted. So let's proceed to views, the login. So in the login, um, this is my login view. So at the top, we can see the um, model login demo app that models the login view model. So this tells the view which model it's strongly typed to. So inside the form, I use the ASP for tag helper to bind each input to a property. So this input is bound to username. So the username, this one to password, ASP by ASP validation. Uh, for shows the validation message, um, for shows the validation message for that specific field and ASP validation summary. So at the top shows model level errors like an incorrect logging attempt. So let's proceed to controllers. So account controller. Um, First is the get login action. So this runs when the user first operates the login page. It just returns the empty view so the user can type in their credentials. So next is the HTTP post. So this is the post login action, and this is where model binding actually happens. So when the form is submitted, ASP.NET Core MVC looks at the submitted field names, username and password, and matches them to the properties on the login view model. So which is the annotation. So if I type admin into the username field, that value is automatically assigned to model.username. Same for the password, so no manual parsing of form data. MVC does this for me automatically. Alright, next is the model state is valid. So after binding, I check model state is valid if the username or password is missing. So or doesn't meet the rules for my data annotations. This will be false. So In that case, I will return the user back to the login view along with your model. So the validation messages show up to the invalid fields. So now let's see this in action. I'm going to run the login system. First, I'll submit the form completely empty. So as you can see, validation messages appear for both fields since they're required. So I'll try to input a password, but without meeting the minimum requirements of 6 characters. So by that, you can see the minimum length validation message appears, which is the password must be at least 6 characters. Okay, so now I'll enter a username and password that both pass the data annotation rules. Yeah, they're long enough but aren't correct with the hard-coded credentials. So let's try test user and password. So as you can see, the data annotations both they both pass the username and password. But since they don't match the hard-coded credentials, which is admin for the username and password is 123456, you can see the invalid username or password message from model state add model error. So, okay, let's put the actual hard-coded credentials, which is admin and 123456. So, yeah, since this much app the app calls redirect to action. So, welcome. And we're taken to the welcome page showing access granted. So, I also added a button here to go back to the login page so the flow can loop back around for another demo without manually retyping the URL. So I'm going to click this. So that's pretty much it. But to summarize it all, the user submits a form, ASP.NET Core MVC, automatically maps the values into my login view model through model binding. Data annotations define the validation rules, and the model state is valid checks whether those rules passed. So if validation failed, the user stayed on the login page with error messages. If credentials were wrong, an error was shown. And if everything was correct, redirect to action sent to the user to the welcome page. So that concludes my demonstration of model binding in ASP.NET Core MVC. Thanks for watching.